Hello, everybody. How's it going? It is Matt, and it is another day, another dollar, and I am back at you with yet another interview. And today I will be with you with our good friend Steve Rock as he hops on here. I'm going to send him out another invite here right quick. Sending again. There we go. All right. Got that sent out. Hey, Gabriel Jewett's in here. How's it going, buddy? How good to see that you're on here. Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Just waiting for Steve to hop on here. I sent him an invite and just waiting for him to hop on. Hopefully things go without a snag on this one.
Oh,
There we are. All
I'm
right, it worked.
sideways. Let me see if I can
Yeah,
change that. I guess I could do it that way. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good.
It's fantastic to see you and finally get a chance to talk. I hope that all your weekend has been splendid.
Yeah, it's been really fun. We had a good weekend. It was rainy, but other than that,
Yeah, I imagine that would get kind of annoying, especially since you guys went to was it Salem or something like that this weekend?
yep. We were heading out to Salem. We went to a whole lot of haunted houses and some of the witch museum stuff. Uh, my little cousin Jeffrey, he actually does a YouTube channel called I believe it's Little Skelly Boy, and
Okay.
he does store tours of like all the spirit Halloweens and everything, and he's got a pretty good following. I'd like to support him, so I said, hey,
Okay.
let's go out to Salem and film some stuff. And he's got like probably 2 weeks worth of haunted houses to take to use footage of. So it's a good trip.
Nice. That is awesome. That is so cool to hear. So, now that I've finally reviewed and got to see the amazing little gem that could known as Dead Burger, can you tell me a little bit about the production of that?
Yeah, it was a long, pretty hard process, but we persevered and we got something in the can, and we're pretty happy with it. So there's probably about half of the script that never really truly happened, because what you see is the best parts of 3 attempts to make the first half of the movie before something crazy happened and we ended up having to recast and restart. So that's part of why it's so jumpy. Um, but we basically, like, the first day we were about to go start filming. We had just set up we had a house we were working with where it was empty, so we had set up a couple different rooms to be different sets, different characters, bedrooms, and different family rooms and stuff like that. And we had a zombie scene planned that day too. So I was off doing the makeup. I wasn't supposed to be the director at this point. And all of a sudden, somebody tapped me on my shoulder and said, hey, you need to go in there and tell them what to do. Now, I'd been the writer. I'd been, very deep in the planning of the whole thing. And I was doing all the makeups because, like, that's what I wanted to do. That's part of the reason we made the movie, is because I wanted to be able to make special effects. And even though I'd won some Halloween costume contests, nobody's going to hire you on that. So I had to have something to show. And here I am doing 3 zombie makeups in the kitchen in the house and being told to go in there and tell them what to do. And I'm like, well, where's the director? Oh, he left. He what? So, so that's how it started. You can imagine how it went from there.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like it was a kind of a nightmare thrown in your lap. I'm surprised that you were able to trooper through it after all of that.
Yeah, well, I did in the meantime, like, basically what would we had other things that would happen. I'm gonna turn that thing off. We had other things that would happen where, like, one thing that, for example, totally not anywhere near our set, but our lead actress, Kayla, who wears the red corset and everything, she was at her mother's house 2 days before we were filming. You can't plan this. You can't prepare for this. It's just life happens, you know? The plate glass window on the front door fell out and broke her foot right before we were supposed to go do a bunch of action shots. So we went, all right, well, let's switch everything up. Let's do dialogue first, and we'll wait 5-6 months and then start to do some of the action stuff, you know, towards the end of the summer when we're running out of time in daylight. But what are we going to do? We got to let her heal, you know? Right. And but you know, how do you plan for that? You can't. It just, stuff happens and you got to roll with the punches. And like things like that would happen routinely about every 6 to 8 months. There'd be some kind of catastrophe and we'd have to go, all right, guys, we got a choice. Do we recast and try again? Or do we try to recover what we have and start up again next year? And so like 5 summers or so of trying ended up being where the last summer we were like, okay, we've got more than enough to do something with. Let's write some stuff and get it figured out. So like my character wasn't supposed to be in the diner. Oh, I just covered the mic. My camera's not supposed to be in the diner, for example. He ended up there out of necessity. He wasn't supposed to be a narrator either. That was also out of necessity because I'm filling in the spots where we just never got a chance to shoot it because something happened. And like things that you just can't imagine. Like we had one day where we had a signed permission slip and like insurance and everything set up to shoot at a certain location. And when we arrived at the location 2 days before to drop off some equipment and set things up, there was a construction crew tearing it down. How do you plan for that? We called the location owner. We're like, hey, what's going on? Why'd this happen? Oh yeah. Well, the crew said they were ready 3 or 4 days early, so I told them to go ahead. Okay, I guess I'll find somewhere else to film. I mean, you know, like stuff like that consistently happened for about 5 years, and it was just crazy. But that's why it ends up being kind of choppy and jumpy that way.
But you know what? It works out in its favor. I feel like you definitely notice that there are some things here and there that are kind of choppy. But I think with as crazy and out there and as wild as the movie is, I think it works in its favor. So I give you a lot of respect for being able to put together what you have out of what you were basically stuck with.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm very proud of what we did get together. And it was funny when I watched your review, there were some things you were hitting on that were like really, really awesome that you picked up on. I'm glad you did. One thing is, like I said, about half the script never really made it. But we were like, right from the beginning, we decided it was like a comedy. We knew it was a comedy. And really the way that the idea started was back in like 2003 or 4, a bunch of friends sitting around in the campus center on the community college nearby where I was going. And the conversation came up, what would we do if zombies attacked? And we started passing around all these wild, crazy, funny ideas. And I went, guys, if I was to take a lot of these ideas and make a movie out of this, we need the dumbest idea for zombies to happen. Does anyone have an idea for the dumbest idea to have zombies? And somebody went, yeah. What if he ordered a cheeseburger with no tomatoes and they put tomatoes on it and he decided to raise the dead because they screwed up his cheeseburger? And I was like, that is completely wild and stupid and perfect for the tone of this nonsense. Let's do it.
Oh, it was great. And what I laughed until I cried when they were throwing when they shot the bazooka with the tomato on the end of it. I laughed so hard at that scene. I was just like, this is just perfect.
You know what that effect was? What it actually was? It was so dumb. We literally took a big like slicing tomato, and I have an artillery shell that's around here from like a history thing. And it's a real artillery shell. And we just stuffed the tomato onto the artillery shell and put it in front of the camera, and ran straight at Mike, our voodoo priest. I sped it up just a little bit in the edit to make it seem a little more like a projectile.
Oh, that's great. It worked so, it was so fun. I just absolutely, everything about this movie is just a blast. Now,
You
how
can
much
tell
of
it's a
it?
celebration of like corny, cheesy B horror. Like not just B horror, but like even like things as wild as like the Adam West Batman show.
Oh
Like, you know, we were really
gosh, yeah.
going for that kind of ridiculousness.
I could definitely see that inspiration there, that's for sure. Now, how much of this was improvised?
Not as much as you'd think, honestly.
Really?
Um,
Really?
Now the Voodoo Priest, almost all of his stuff was.
Okay.
And his name's Mike Wagner. He's great. He's been in a whole bunch of our projects. He's actually in the Ghost one, which I just dropped a trailer for about 45 minutes ago. It just hit our feeds, and it's called Insurance. And Mike actually is reprising, in a way, the role from Dead Burger in it. You'll see when you watch, he's one of the ghosts, and he doesn't talk. We didn't make him talk in this one, but we definitely brought back things that fans of Dead Burger would recognize. So, and he's
Very cool.
he's our bad ghost. He's pretty awesome. And he's in the trailer. You can see him for just a couple seconds there, where you can pretty much tell it's him if you know the outfit.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah. Definitely.
and I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to make things interconnected. Actually, the Alien movie Gone, the cop that's in Insurance as well is also the cop in Gone. And he's another actor of ours. His name's John. He actually was the father that gets killed as a zombie in Dead Burger as well. So,
Okay.
you know, like there's a lot of people that we work with. We like, when we like somebody, we bring them back as much as we can, you know?
Oh, there's definitely. I love that when you have your own troupe of actors that you like to bring along, cast and crew, because it gives it that almost like Romero vibe, you know, like because he, you know, we all grew up and know and love Romero, and how
Oh,
many
yeah.
of the same cast and crew did we see in his films, and I just love when directors do that, when they find their key players, you know. I think that's a good signature move to have.
It's really nice, you know, and the fact that everybody works together and knows each other like really helps too. On the new movie, on Insurance, I didn't have a lot of the same people. I had some of the same people, but and like the actors, you'll notice a lot of the actors are similar. You'll recognize them from the other projects. But behind the camera, I got some of the best people I've ever worked with, honestly. I got Lakota Rubiak. He's our cinematographer and director of photography. Basically, anything. He used my storyboards like a Bible, and he got so close to what I was imagining. It was incredible, and he made it look 10 times better too. Basically, anytime you see really good like framing or lighting, that's Lakota's working.
Okay.
And then the audio is done by a guy named Connor Grocky, and he works with Lakota a lot. They're not necessarily like a team, but usually where one goes, the other follows.
Okay.
And the two of them were wonderful working together. And then also we had Randy come back. Randy Harlow. He's the lawyer in Dead Burger, and then he's also one of the ghosts that you'll see in Insurance. And he was our production manager, and he was doing a lot of things to help us stay on track. And he's a wonderful supporter. And Mike, I wanted to mention, you know, we talked just a second about it. Mike's improvisation on Dead Burger was incredible. Like he was wild in the best way. And what I
Right.
said to him, what I said to him was, if at any point you feel like you're sounding like the Shredder from the Ninja Turtles or Storm from the X-Men, you're doing it right. That was the exact direction I gave him, and he ran with it. And I can't be happy enough for it. He really took it to a wonderful level. And he was like really good into improvising with even like the props. Sorry, I hear my voice going there. Anyway, if you notice in the cemetery scene, the book he's reading from to do the ritual, which is just stuff he was pulling out of his brain, by the way, he's holding the manual to a Toyota. We did have a real book, a real good book prop, and somehow, some way that day, somebody couldn't find it. So we went, okay, what do we have? And we literally just took a car manual and threw it in his hands and said, go ahead.
Go with it. Oh, and he did such a good job with it, you know. Oh my gosh, I just love the fact that he has that ability to just wing it and make it work that well.
Yeah, he's really fun to work with.
So I'm gonna ask you two really tough questions.
Okay.
First question is, who are some of your biggest inspirations?
Well, so I'm gonna kind of to answer that in two parts, I guess. So what made me want to get into movies and like inspired me was the special effects side of it, where I wanted to do the makeups and the practical effects. And that's what led to me finding out about all the other sides of it that I find I really like to do. So, but initially it was Michael Westmore and Tom Savini were the two that you could really point to. I had, as a kid, probably like 6, 7 years old, I had one of those like this thick Star Logs. I don't know if you know that magazine from back in the
Oh yeah.
day, but it was like this thick, and it was a special about the makeup and effects from Star Trek: The Next Generation. And I obsessively read it and was like trying to figure out how to do things. Like at one point, I did when I was probably like 12 or something. I did data for Halloween, and I had put like a bunch of makeup and stuff, and like made a little cardboard piece that I had strapped to my arm to have the little Christmas lights and stuff, like as if he was taking apart his arm. So, and
Very
like I
cool.
wasn't as good back then. I was a kid, but the ideas were there, and I was learning already, and I was reading those books. And then once I got to like 16, 17, around then, I was really getting into like actual horror. And besides just watching it, but like trying to make it, you know? And I came across at one of the costume shops, Grand Illusions by Tom Savini, which used to be books 1 and 2. Now they're all in one volume, and it's like huge, thick too.
Oh yeah.
And and like reading that, I started to understand how they did things like tear people apart in Dawn of the Dead and make all those different zombie makeups that they use several of at the same time, you know. It was really like that's what led to everything else. Now, once I started making films, more than just like trying to make special effects and cool makeups, like once I started getting a camera involved and like really getting into actually like writing and figuring things out, which really didn't happen until I was like probably like 27 or something. Around then, I would say like some of the big names that you would think, you know, of course, like John Carpenter. Halloween was my first tattoo, for example.
Nice.
And then Wes Craven and George Romero specifically, because the goal, and I'm pretty sure most independent filmmakers will say the same thing, everybody's goal is to end up like George Romero, where he stayed in Pittsburgh his whole life, just about. Look at the movies he got to make. He didn't go to California. He didn't have to live on that side. He didn't have to play in the game and the rules of the studio system, which that's like the way to make a living at it. You have to hit the lottery to become a Romero, but that's like the dream that we all have, is that you get to stay home and make the movies you want to make with your friends, and somehow it makes enough money to build you a zombie empire, you know? And who knows if that'll ever happen again, but you know, looking at careers and stuff, who isn't inspired by him?
Exactly. I have to agree 100%. Like, who doesn't want to be the next Romero? I mean, the guy was just one of a kind, and will forever be missed, and just be one of those that if they ever did a Mount Rushmore of horror icons, he's got my vote for being up there.
Yeah,
Now,
Gabe, you're absolutely right. He is a god.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yes, yes, you're right, Gabe. Yes. And on to my hardest question that I always ask: what are your favorite films?
Jaws is like a perfect film. That's one of the very few. Um, honestly, like I'll go to a Romero, but not the one you think. The 1990 Return or Night of the Living Dead, 1990. Something about Tony Todd playing that role and them not having Barbara be completely catatonically useless is awesome. I love that movie. As far as like a recent one, I'm gonna say like something like Psycho Gorman. My
Ah,
God. So Psycho Gorman and like Tammy and the T-Rex, you can tell by watching Dead Burger the kind of crazy things I like to watch. And those two are like off the walls, awesomely crazy. And Psycho Gorman specifically, I think, is like if you took the writers and actors and film people behind the Power Rangers,
yeah.
you gave them money and said, "Here's a bunch of blood, make use of it." And then you said, "Hey, you know what? We also have this large bag of cocaine you can have. You get Psycho Gorman." And it's amazing. And I would love if I see more of that stuff happen. Mandy's really great too. As
Yes.
far as new ones,
Hmm.
um, and as far as like a sci-fi, Color Out of Space. Color Out of Space is the effects that are in that. They don't. I always like to talk about this as far as like practical versus digital and all of that. A lot of people like they decide that there's a fence and they have to be on one side or the other, but that's not really the case. All of it is a tool that should be left in the toolbox and used when it needs to be. And if you look at Color Out of Space, they're using different filtering and shading and camera techniques to like make the purple start to go across the whole screen. And then you've got the stop motion in the monster in the attic. You've got digital with like the little insects and stuff that are flying around. And then you've got practical with like the mother and the kid being fused together. They didn't leave anything behind. They used every tool in the book. And that's the kind of filmmaking we need to see today.
Hmm.
Like relying too much on CGI or even relying too much on practical can be a problem. But when you have somebody that can like think about it and decide, okay, this is the best way to do that, and that's the best way to do this, so let's do both. That's the best way to go. And usually what I find is that like a good example of this is Lord of the Rings. A lot of the big orcs in Lord of the Rings, they're from the knees up is practical, and from the knees down is green screen legs. You wouldn't notice, unless you knew it, you wouldn't notice, and that works amazingly well.
Hmm.
The slugs in Slither, they were literally just like plastic or rubber slugs that they were essentially dragging around on fishing lines, and then in digital they added all the veins and organs and everything and pulsing, and suddenly that rubber slug comes to life.
Hmm.
That's the stuff we need to see, like really. And you see it every once in a while where like James Gunn, obviously, and all of those people like were able to deploy these tactics. But like when you look at like a studio thing, even like a Marvel movie, most Marvel movies, by the end of it, it's like two Gumby characters just smacking each other around. It's like, come on, guys, like you have the talent, you have the money to hire all these people and deploy this stuff. Why do we keep getting a blue sky beam? Do something different.
Do something new. Do something different. Yeah. Don't be afraid to try different things. Yeah. I agree with you 100% on that. And one last thing, it's all your platform now to plug and promote whatever you would like to talk about, and we'll end it on that.
Yeah. So if anybody wanted to follow us, we're on Abomination Films. We have a website, www.abominationfilms.com. We also have a merch store there. So if anybody wanted to truly support us and buy some of our t-shirts or stickers or anything, they're all there. And then just today, like I said a little bit earlier, right before the interview started, I had dropped a trailer for our newest project, Insurance, and it's a ghost movie. Give you a quick little description of it. A young couple inherits a house, and they find out that it's haunted. And as things start to get worse, they try to fight back. Like she lights some sage, and like he's like getting up in the middle of the night with a baseball bat, checking the house, trying to make sure there's nobody in it. They call the cops at one point. Nothing's working. So when it gets really bad, the guy gets his wife out of the house and he goes back in with the insurance papers and a gas can. And he says, "Keep it up or I'll burn this place down and cash that check tomorrow." And then some real fun starts to happen. So you got to check that out. The video just dropped. Like I say, it's about a 2.5 minute trailer. Dropped right before the interview started, like 5 o'clock my time. And also, of course, Dead Burger's available on our YouTube channel, Abomination Films NY. It's totally free. You just have to sign in because it's got some adult content. You have to be signed in, verified in order to watch it. But it is free. And then we actually have a third project called Gone. That's an alien abduction movie. Young woman has a strange dream, and when she wakes up, she finds out she's been missing for 3 days. So she tries to figure out what happened to her, and it goes really wacky from there. And that's also in post production. Both Insurance and Gone will be finishing up sometime over the winter and releasing early next year in their full versions. We want to try to send them to festivals and see who takes it. I don't know if we're going to, have any local screenings or anything yet, but certainly that'll be something to check out in the future. Just follow our feeds, and as information becomes available, I'll be happy to post it.
Awesome. Yes, because I will definitely be keeping an eye out on that. And I hope for when those do drop on some sort of level for home distribution or at least for us to watch that you keep a certain somebody in mind for a review for them.
Thank you so
Cause,
much. I was really happy, that first of all, the people are enjoying Dead Burger. It's got a stronger following than I ever thought it would. And, the fact that it won the award this year, at Cringe Fest, local film network that held an event, it won the audience vote. I mean, I was amazed. And the fact that everybody loves it and wants to keep watching it and having fun with it, that's what it was made for. Even if you're laughing at it, at least you're laughing.
exactly. Exactly. And whether it inspires one person or 100 people, that's all that really matters.
Absolutely.
And I think that you definitely got a home run on your hands with it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate the views.
You're very welcome, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your weekend as well.
Thank you so much. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, and we'll keep in touch.
Sounds good. Talk to you
All
soon.
right. See ya. Have a good day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.